You're listening to Xenos Alchemist. I'm Brother Pink.
And I'm Mr. Pink.
And today we have Marco Schultz. Please introduce yourself, Marco.
Hi, I'm Marco, also known as the artist formerly Hive Fleet Moloch, and glad to be aboard with the brothers Pink.
You were formerly known as Moloch. What are you going to be known as from this point forward? DJ
Captain
Ouroboros.
Kinderfresser was pretty nice.
Captain Kinderfresser. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
What's
Moloch
Captain?
means baby eater. Does Kinderfresser mean baby eater in German?
Yes, it does.
Oh man.
It was kind of nice.
So I've noticed that you have an accent. Which part of Canada are you from?
Well, I was in Toronto once.
But you're actually from...
Berlin, Germany.
Right now, percentage-wise, how much energy are you focusing on Warhammer?
That is a tough question because I'm just trying to get back in again.
Right.
You know, I've been out for something like 10 years, 12 years, and just dabbled with the odd miniature here and there, but I wasn't really into it and wasn't involved anymore. And right now I'm pretty fueled. I'm pretty pumped up actually to do stuff again. I would say my life right now is occupied like 20% with working on models, which is quite a lot actually. I missed it.
Recreation-wise, where else are you focusing your energies?
In recent years, I've come to get into science fiction costuming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a member of the 501st Star Wars Legion and dress up as various Star Wars characters. Sometimes I visit hospitals, children hospices, and really enjoy interacting with kids, older kids, younger kids, and many people when they see, for example, Boba Fett for real.
No one runs away in fear?
Sometimes children cry.
Okay.
Sometimes that happens, and most of the time we can make them be good again, but especially when I dress up as Emperor Palpatine,
Okay.
it's not possible.
Do you own any Stormtrooper armor, or do you borrow Stormtrooper armor?
No, I've got a Death Trooper. It's even better, I guess.
So if you could have an additional suit of armor, what would you want?
Right now, I'm actually having a friend work on the Mandalorian armor for me.
Yeah, cool.
A design I really like. Yeah, this is going to be the next costume.
I really like I think they're called Range Troopers. They're in the Solo movie, which is so. But they've got that like white jacket that is really nice.
Yeah. like a gangster.
Yeah. And I think also like a lot of Stormtrooper armor, if you get a little bit of a tummy, it kind of shows in the armor and you're like, oh, it's a fat Stormtrooper. But in this one, you've got your big poofy jacket to kind of hide it all.
Absolutely.
Mr. Pink, whoever you are, if you could have one type of Stormtrooper armor, what would it be?
The one that they have on Endor.
The Scout.
Or the one where it looks kind of like the red Palace Guards, but it's white, and they have, I think it's the Hoth armor. They have like the little eyes, and they have like this just straight plate thing.
It can't be a Scout. The Scouts used to hit Baby Yoda. Scouts are jerks.
I heard that the actor who punched Baby Yoda actually damaged the robot that they made, and they're like, that cost $500,000. And after that, he couldn't actually refilm the scene punching it because he kept pulling
Really?
it. Yeah. What, for you, is the hardest part of hobbying?
Oh, that's easy. Rank and file painting. I'm not someone who really enjoys painting.
What?
I don't. A friend of mine, Agis, he comes from work, is totally stressed, sits at his desk and just paints for relaxation. I cannot do that. It's not possible for me. I usually need to be full of energy and need to be in a good spirit, and then I can paint. But even then, I'm a slow painter. I'm not a very patient painter. And for example, I'm just painting on the Reaver Titan right now. And,
just painting a Reaver Titan is not a small feat.
No, certainly not. But I've been painting it for a couple of years now, so it's not as bad. But right now I have to do the shading on the toes.
Okay.
Sounds like easy, but if you want to have a gentle, smooth shading from black to the highlight color, it's really tedious, and I hate it. I just don't enjoy it.
What is the easiest part of hobbying? Right.
Easy converting. I just love working on poses and having a good idea and seeing this idea become reality is always joyful for me. And I've had so much fun over the years with posing my models and having a story in my head and seeing that story in the end of the model is really something I enjoy.
Yeah. So ranking from plastic, resin, or pewter, top of the list, what do you like working with? Bottom of the list, least like working with?
I would imagine the list is these days is probably the same for everyone. Plastic has. I still remember a White Dwarf article many years ago. I think like 20 years ago, where Games Workshop made their first models in plastic. And it's really funny because the article clearly says plastic will never be able to replace paper till back then, because it is not possible to get good details in plastic. It will never be possible. The article says it will never be possible. So we can make rank and file models like the same pose, 20 models for a regiment, and always do the nice models in pewter. And these days, of course, we know plastic is much better at doing detailed models and of making intricate poses and stuff. So yes, I think that's just like everyone, I enjoy working with new plastic kits the most. Resin is good at capturing detail, but I don't think it has many more advantages these days with plastic being so good. Of course, nobody enjoys working with pewter anymore. At least I don't think so.
I kind of do. I got some nice pewter models here. The thing I like about pewter is that I think certain sculpts, they're sturdy. You could step on it, right? And it's not going to break if you pinned it and stuff. But the fiddly bits, they're kind of stressful. I kind of like pinning. It takes forever, but I'm like, yeah, now it's solid. Now it's a brick.
I enjoy pinning too. Actually, I just fixed the huge turbo lasers on the Reaver Titan before I'm here, and I used 3 big fat pins made from bicycle wheel spokes.
Nice.
And 3 pins on every single gun, and it's so satisfying to just push the pin in and know, okay, now it's good.
Yeah. You're like, you've locked it in place. You've put so much reinforcement, and yeah.
Absolutely. And you used to be a fragile little model. You are no more. Now you're a Titan.
So I want to list a couple of things. I'm gonna. Which of the like Games Workshop offshoots interest you the most? There's Necromunda, Horus Heresy, Age of Sigmar, Warcry, Adeptus Titanicus, Aeronautica Imperialis, Blood Bowl, Blackstone Fortress, or Kill Team. Which one of those ones interests you the most?
Well, first off, I'm really happy that Games Workshop got back to featuring all the little worlds and the little stuff, because I think always seeing the same kind of battle set up gets tiring, and background-wise is pretty boring. I guess we'll talk about Tyranids later, and especially there, I have a couple of points to make. If I would have to choose one, which was your question, I would say Necromunda.
Okay.
One I like most. First off, I remember very fondly our Necromunda games back then. We used to play it a lot when I was 20, like nearly 30 years ago. And I think the background is so enriching for the world of 40k, because it just is so imaginative and so nice. And I really enjoy having a gang where I know every ganger, where I have a story in my head, and where something happens on the tabletop that gives me some images that are more than just 2 armies meeting.
Right, it's not 35 Termagants or 18 guys with Space Marine helmets on, yeah.
Absolutely. And even then, always the same kind of battle with unimaginative armies just isn't as good as my imagination says it should be. And Necromunda always leads to having your favorite Ganger or having a Juve do something special and funny stuff happening. It's the reason why I also enjoyed Mortime a lot, because I think the scenario and the setting is awesome.
Are there any miniature games outside of GW that are interesting to you? That interest you?
Yeah, right now I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
But there have been so many possibilities over the years that make me really happy. I used to play Zombicide and all the different variations with my friend Argus sometimes, which is fun and is nice, and we always try out different games.
Nice. Okay, if you had to start a 40k army not related to Tyranids, what would you start?
The Genestealer card, but I think that doesn't count, huh?
No.
I think Adeptus Mechanicus is an army that I really like. that has nice aesthetics, very 40K with the grimdark, and is offering so many possibilities for conversions and doing your own stuff. So Adeptus Mechanicus army would be something that I'd really be into. And of course, Kroot.
Would you ever strip the paint off a model you finished painting? You finish it, it's done, and you say, you know what, no, I got to do it again. Would you ever strip it completely?
I actually did that
okay.
A couple of years ago, and I know a friend of mine who won a Slayer sword at the Golden Demon competition, and his winning model was stripped 3 times before he was satisfied. But I try not to be a perfectionist anymore, because that way lies madness.
Who is a better kit basher / converter, Hydra or Nick, Mr. Pink?
Oh, shit. No, I cannot answer that question. That is impossible for me.
Okay, look this way if it's Nick, and look that way if it's Simon.
I honestly can't.
All right.
I mean, back the time, I remember it was probably Simon first, but not anymore, I guess, because they both have the very successful styles, which they mastered to a degree I can only dream of. So no, it's not possible. If I would have to call my 2 favorite models by any of them, it would be the Talent Horror by Simon and the Tyranid Dominatrix that Nick did for me. And I have no idea how any of those 2 could ever be better. So no, sorry, I just cannot.
Okay. Nick always told me that you always said you weren't very good at converting or whatever. Is that true? That you felt what?
I still do. I'm still don't have what you'd probably call a healthy ego toward my work. I always think it's kind of nice, but I don't really see why there was such a fuss about that stuff back then. Still don't.
Do you ever finish a model and then go back and look at it and you can't even believe you did it? Like, I have this thing where sometimes I don't feel like I did it. In the moment, I can't believe I did all those steps that got me to this point.
My problem is rather I always see the flaws.
Okay.
I have a really hard time enjoying my own stuff, because I always see what's not good about it, where I didn't do a good job, what could be better, what should be better. I really can't enjoy my models as much as I would like to, because I always see what should be better, and there's always something.
Well, for me, I always just say, fuck it, it's done.
That's what you should do.
If you use that end goal of, listen, I want to play a game with these miniatures, then you're kind of, okay, fuck it, it's done. I got to get it on the table. Fuck it, it's done. Mr. Pink, my brother, he's not really so focused on playing games, so he's never done. He's always got, I want to make the model better. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'll put it on the side. It doesn't matter. For me, a lot of my hobby comes from growing up with action figures, and this is like the most mature thing that's closest to action figures that I could do. I was wondering, growing up, did you have a lot of action figures? Were you interested in action figures?
Actually, I was just listening to the podcast you did with Simon the Hydra, and was smiling when he told about his Masters of the Universe history as a kid. For me, it was pretty much the same, with the only difference being that I had a shit ton of Star Wars toys.
Okay. And can you think of a specific Star Wars action figure that was like your favorite?
There were a couple, actually. I really love the Rancor toy, which is no surprise looking back, of course. But yeah, I had a shit ton. But when I was like 11, 12, I was just growing out of the stuff. I was feeling too old. It wasn't mature enough for me. Then I discovered 40K and role-playing games. So it was a natural progression for me.
Cool. And how did you discover it? Did someone introduce you to it, or did you just go into a store and see it, or how did that work out?
I don't honestly remember which of our friends discovered role-playing games first, but we had a small shop where you could buy newspapers and books, and they had the first copy of Dungeons & Dragons there, and one of us bought it. We just tried it out. And after that, we discovered there was a whole world behind it, and were able to travel to the next biggest city, which was Hanover. And there was a specialized fantasy shop. In this shop, my best friend bought a copy of a White Dwarf number 97. And it had a huge article on the Ultramarines.
Oh!
The officers and the whole structure explained in Marnius Kalgar. And I still remember the chief librarian of the chapter being a half-elder.
What? I don't remember that.
It was a half-elder.
Amazing.
Absolutely. So the whole world of 40K was totally different, but that White Dwarf just floored me, just wiped me totally, and changed my life, definitely.
Cool.
So
did you introduce your friends to 40K from that?
Yes.
Okay.
Couple of our friends just thought about maybe we could buy a couple of models. I still remember buying my first box of Space Marines. Of course, it was Space Marines even back then. All the biggies still with the long nose. Yeah. And we just started, besides our regular role-playing game sessions, we just started trying this stuff out, and it was great. It was awesome.
Is there anything you can think of that really drew you towards Tyranids?
This is a question I thought about a couple of hours earlier when thinking about our conversation. The fear of the monster lurking in the dark is some kind of psychological factor we inherited from our ancestors. I used to be so afraid of sharks in the water that I couldn't swim in a lake.
That's interesting because I've heard a theory that the dragon is an incorporation of all these animals that could potentially kill a human, a snake, a lion, like a large hawk.
That is really interesting. Absolutely. And I think this kind of primordial fear that is in us has always intrigued me. That shows perfectly well what I'm talking about. With Tyranids, the horror in the dark, the fear of the monster outside of your tribe, your camp, is what intrigues me. And I always had a setting in mind, besides the usual 40K battles, of a background and where a human planet has to deal with an infestation by Tyranids, and like maybe 15% of the planet's surface is having the infestation with monsters coming up, and the defense force trying to fight them, and families can't go out after dark, and neighbors getting dragged away. But it's still, I find this fascinating.
One of the things that Marco always did really well was he always did these atmospheric pictures of his Tyranids.
Your Tyranids, actually, there's two different kinds of schemes. You started out with a red and black, and then you changed the kind of color scheme to it. I think your first color scheme was a very maybe 90s Games Workshop, bright, vibrant color, and then you kind of moved towards a more Forgeworld-y, muted, more realistic tone.
Perfectly said, actually. There were a couple of reasons why I chose the second scheme.
Do you want to talk about the first scheme and then the second scheme?
The color scheme of Fleet Moloch was black and red, was my favorite color combination back when I was younger. I actually even had most of my furniture in black and red, and it's just something that really appeals to me as a contrast. One of my early inspirations was when I was at the Warhammer Grand Tournament in Nottingham. I think in the late 90s, early 2000s, I saw a Tyranid army which was black and red, and I really liked the back then.
I didn't hear that part. That's cool.
Yeah, actually, the inspiration for my first Fleet Moloch was a converted army from a staff member in Warhammer World. Conversions I did of the Spider Zoanthropes and the Spider Tyrant were copies that were made by a staff member. And I think shown in White Dwarf too. And these inspired me to just start trying this out, because I just didn't like the old city sculpts of the huge rubber-handed unit monsters. Just looked silly to me, but these looked scary.
It's funny that you said that you really like the black and red combination, because I'm almost the same way. I've got a black and red Tau here, black and red Battletech Mini. I've got Blood Angels. It's like my go-to. I think red, I just feel comfortable kind of riffing off. Like I know what colors can contrast and whatever with it. It's just a comfort zone for me.
Interesting, yeah.
Brown,
actually, my first 40K army was a Blood Angel army too.
Cool.
Oh, okay. Again, black and red.
Absolutely.
I wonder if there's, like, we're talking about, like, Craig, you mentioned that sharks are like this, or the dragon is like this primordial combination of like sharks and snakes and all that. I wonder if there's something primordial about black and red, because like black and red is very satisfying. Like
I've heard
in
somewhere
my Gene Stealer cult, I have some black and red going on.
Some guy did a study about Halo or some sort of game, and you could choose either being on the blue team or the red team, and they found that the people on the red team played more aggressively and lost because they were just like, go, I'm aggressive, and the blue team was more like, okay, we're going to think about what we're going to do here, we're going to take it slow.
I have just one quote on that: red ones go faster.
That's a good one.
So then the later scheme that you picked, what, like, can you describe the colors? Because this is a podcast, maybe people can't see.
Yeah,
the color scheme was pretty clearly an idea by Forgeworld, because the second army I did was because I was asked to do a couple of models for the Forgeworld book.
The Anphelion?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the design brief for the Tyranid army in the book that it was supposed to have autumn colors.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know they briefed you on that.
And they had 2 color sketches in the Forgeworld style with a hierodule, having this sort of brownish, pale, muted body, and had 2 variants. One had a faded green carapace, and one had a brown carapace.
Yeah.
And the faded green just sort of appealed to me. It wasn't quite as faded as the models became, but we tried it out, my wife back then and me. And the first go just looked interesting because the faded out colors just was something you wouldn't normally see on a Games Workshop army. It just wasn't so 90s anymore. And for me, it looked realistic and somewhat more believable than my old red and black Tyranids.
There's also like a pink to it that's really muted. It's not pink. It's like a flesh pink.
Everything's pale.
Yeah,
the whole
it's
idea is
really cool.
everything's supposed to be really pale. And I had this image in my head of those Tyranids running through a forest like ghostly forms, like ghostly pale shapes.
Oh, nice. That is really terrifying. And like it also, because I don't remember the Anphelion fluff, but like it gives me kind of like a subterranean idea. Like you have those subterranean creatures that are so pale.
Yes, interesting.
But also, you look at it, I don't think the color is autumn. Well, maybe Canadian autumn isn't the same as UK autumn.
UK autumn's, everything's boiled. It's boring.
I agree, it isn't autumn at all. But the design brief was that it should be autumn. I just didn't get it right.
You did it your own way, and we all love it.
Yeah, thank you. I did it. Actually, I've seen a couple of people trying the color scheme, and most of them just didn't get this right because their colors are too saturated. It's easy to just slap on bleach bone and do a brown wash and some Catachan green or something, and it looks to be the same, but it just isn't because it isn't pale enough.
Yep.
And for me, to be happy with the scheme, it has to be pale.
And were you using GW paints for this? GW paints?
Yes.
Cool.
Do you remember the paint colors?
The main color is rotting flesh and Catachan green with a lot of rotting flesh to just pale it, and everything else is just pale variations on the schemes. I remember being on the tournament with Simon in Nottingham, and we had at least one game with his Hive fleet and my Hive fleet on the same table. And
Cool.
I really liked how our color schemes contrasted, but also fit because they had a similar range of colors. Looked really nice for me.
Simon's color scheme, it's also very, not pale, but muted. His was like greenish.
Greenish and dark, and also with purple hues.
We have the Fleet Moloch scheme, and then we have the Hive Fleet Hydra scheme. I would say yours is probably a lot more muted than his, but he had some pops of color in there, but also still very muted. Like the Chitin is kind of camo green.
That's a very nice contrast because his is the dark variant, but the colors don't clash. They fit together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The thing that I really liked about his scheme that I've now taken on with my newer Tyranids is the pink accent on the mouth and the pink accent on the weapons, which isn't that something from nature where the dangerous parts are bright colors?
Sometimes.
Monkeys with the red
eyes. Don't go near that red ass.
Come on, right here. Let's do it. And you're like, no, thank you, monkey.
My ass is dangerous.
And now are you still using GW acrylics, or do you use a different kind of paint?
I still use the same.
Okay.
I have so much catching up to do. I'm stuck with my old painting techniques and know all these nice new colors and possibilities. And Argus, my friend, is always urging me to try them out, but right now I haven't. And I still really have to try out foundation paints, for example. But these days I'm still using my same techniques. Some of them work really well, some of them don't. For example, just yesterday I painted some parts gold on my Titan, and I thought, yeah, there was this gold color I was always so happy about. And I just found out this color is so bad, it clogs up the details immediately. It doesn't cover at all. You need 3 coats, and then everything is clogged up. It's like total shit.
Do you use an airbrush?
Sometimes I use an airbrush.
That's how you save your sanity.
Yes, I've seen you master the airbrush so amazingly well, Nick. Your Steel Cult army has so great airbrush effects.
Thanks.
When did you start airbrushing?
I started in the mid-90s when I worked on some scenery. Actually, one of the first scenery pieces I sold for money was airbrushed, but I was really bad at it because it always clogged up. I hated having to clean it all the time. It was so fiddled. I was never really happy with my airbrushing and my mastering of the technique.
Would you ever consider taking a course?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, cool.
These days I use an Aztec airbrush, which is much easier to clean, not the best one, but very easy to use, and it's better for me. But I would love to be able to learn more about it.
The Aztec is the first airbrush I ever used. Probably not as good as yours. We had Craig, do you have it? So this is like the budget plastic airbrush that our older brother had. And he's like, oh yeah, I have this for painting model planes. You guys can go ahead and use it. Like you said, it would always clog. And I would try to use it and be like, this is trash. But now Craig has it. Craig, have you been using it? Has it been successful?
No, but I bought a new one as well because I like its light, and as you can see, my right hand is quite deformed, and it actually fits in my right hand pretty well. But
Oh, nice.
I haven't actually got it to work. I haven't released it. I have a different airbrush now. But you don't use the plastic one, Marco, do you?
I have the same one, actually.
The plastic one.
Really?
Yes, I use the same one. And the thing is, it's not the best airbrush, but the different nozzles are very easy to install.
Yeah.
It's easy to clean. You don't have many problems with it. It's pretty hassle-free.
I am so impressed that you're able to work with that thing because I tried it. I'm like, throw it in the river. I'm so done with it.
But I can see the difference between this new one that's never been used and that other one that's been well used. There is a difference.
But
Have you
thanks
done
for
much airbrushing, Craig? Like, what do
Very
you
little.
think about airbrushing?
One of the problems is that I like to approach models on an individual basis. I pick up one model, I start working on that, and then I get into it and I work on that one individual figure. And airbrushing, you've got to line up like 25 figures that need the same kind of paint application. So you got 25 of them, you start with the first one, doesn't look so great, but you're like, okay, I know what I did wrong. You can kind of gradually move through it, the lineup and improve as you go. And that's the problem I have, is that every time I pick it up, it's small, short bursts, and I don't have enough time to kind of really get used to it. But I've gotten some progress. There's just, you got to figure out your way of doing it. Like I got this guy here. This is a BattleTech miniature, and I really, this is the first time I painted a mini with it, and I was like, you know what? I did a good job on that.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Would you have a next question, Craig, or should we just?
You can go.
I still remember a time which was when every serious Games Workshop and model painter just looked down on airbrushing. It was really as a way of cheating. When we were at the Toronto Gold Demons, I don't remember the name of the guy who won versus Titan. There was a Chaos Titan. It was a famous guy, a famous Canadian painter.
Not Vincent Hudon. He was the guy who did the Magma Tracks.
Yes, it was him. And he won gold in his category, I think. And we talked about his great Titan, we talked about my Titan, and then he said to me, sorry, I just cheated, I airbrushed. And he was really embarrassed to admit that he airbrushed.
Oh, come on, man. Oh, wait, was it a Corn Titan?
Yes.
Oh, totally found it. One sec. Yeah, so it was a Warhound.
Yes, it was a Warhound, exactly.
Let's see.
Nick, do you remember hearing about...
Can you see it?
Yes, that's it.
Hold on, Craig. Let me see if I can pull it up.
You're really efficient with your...
Google food.
I try. So, I wonder if we can... Oh, we can get to your stuff from here. Cool. So, this is Vincent Hudon. He's a Canadian guy. You can he did a Corn Warhound. And I can't really tell if he did much sculpting on. But this guy, he actually is a really, really nice guy. I don't know if you remember, but I remember that when you guys were here, oh, look, Category 3.
Yay.
Titan, Marco Schulze, first,
Yay.
Golden. Oh, this is a picture of the Warhound that you shared on your Instagram lately with the snake Tyranid on it and the guy with the spear. Yeah, I was going to say that Vincent Hudon, he super nice guy, like very down to earth. I know Simon commented on that too. I don't know if you had many interactions with him, but
I have the same impression.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find your other stuff here. Okay, so this is Golden Demon. So yeah, it was Golden Demon Canada 2009, and I think that was the last Golden Demon that ever happened in Canada.
We just blew it all away.
Yeah, you guys blew it away, and they're like, screw this, we're not doing this again. What were the other categories you entered? Because you entered the 40K vehicle with your Titan.
Yes.
And then, did you bring anything else, or was it? I can't believe you brought that thing to Canada. Definitely,
I did. I really enjoyed it.
No, but like transporting on the plane.
On my backpack, on the carry-on.
Oh my god! Amazing.
But I transported the whole Fleet Moloch to the UK. The whole complete collection.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because they had it for a while, right?
Yes, for a year actually. It was displayed in the Games Workshop studio, and I had to get it on a plane. The whole complete Fleet Moloch.
Oh, Marco mentioned how he loved the idea of a Tyranid infestation on a planet, and that made me think about how Marco and I met, which was that back in the day, Marco had a website called HivefleetMoloch.com, and through the magic of the internet, it kind of still exists. I don't know if it's too soon, Marco, but if you go on the Wayback Machine, you can still find Hive Fleet Moloch. I don't know. Sometimes it has pictures and sometimes it doesn't when I check it out on here. But oh no, most of the pictures are gone. But
brings back all the feels.
Yeah, so this was an amazing website. So back in like
hold on.
2004.
Can you share my screen, Nick?
What?
Can you share my screen? Oh, you got the images. You got the images.
Here, I'll stop share. Okay.
You've got the images on it now.
Oh wait.
Because I still have it open on my computer.
Hold on.
I think.
You still have it open from 2005? You never closed it?
I never closed it.
So yeah, so Marco's website was like one of the best destinations for Tyranid artists back in the day. There was Warp Shadow, which was the big forum for Tyranid artists, and then there was Hive Fleet Moloch. So the pictures are a little messed up, but again, okay, cool. So Marco was always very like scenic and characterful about the kind of photos he took, and I always remember that he was really good at teasing stuff. You can see that on his Instagram now. He'll give you like a little snippet of a model or a little picture of a model. So you can kind of see that on the old Hive Fleet Moloch website where he would like focus right in on a piece of detail on a model. Back then, the photos weren't distorted and stretched out like this. This is just an archive of from the Wayback Machine. But I always love that about your stuff, that you weren't just like, here's a picture of a model. It's like, here's a picture of a model in a scenic background. Oh, man, how many pictures does this have? Wow. Marco, your website still exists. You have to go through the Wayback Machine, but...
Funny.
But also...
It's so nice to see it, because I haven't seen these pictures and, of course, the whole design in such a long time.
Yeah.
Really nice to see it again.
I actually have a backup. Do you still have your backups? Because I
don't think so.
Okay,
I have
well,
not. Maybe I have it on an old hard drive. I'm not sure.
All right. Well, I'll send it. I can send it to you if you want. I kind of portioned it up for this interview, but I was going to say that Marco made a big splash when he came onto the Tyranid forum, and yeah, you reached out to me through the forum or through email or something like that, and you had asked me to write some background for your website, and you had said specifically this idea about a planet that had been infested by the Tyranids, and that the actual experience of the people who live there having to live with a Tyranid infestation.
True, I remember.
Yeah. So I think we called it Tenebra 3, the planet, and then I wrote up some random fluff for you. And I remember being like really kind of honored that you would reach out to me and ask me to write fluff for your website about Tyranids. And it was through that, I still remember you sent me an email one time and you were like, oh, it's so cool to meet on the internet. It would be really unfortunate if we never met in life. So then that was how it all started.
Marco, can you talk about the name of the first Hive Fleet Moloch? What is Moloch? In your words.
I have no idea.
I know what it is.
I honestly don't
know what Moloch is. Isn't it a bull?
So please tell me.
A bull statue that would put people in and like boil them alive, or people would eat children?
Yes. I think there's even more to be said about the origins, but honestly, if you ask me right now, I don't know. And I don't remember at all how we came up with the name. With Ouroboros, I could tell a story about it, but with Moloch, I have no clue at all. But I'm not known for the best memory, so...
Well, it works really well, because a Moloch is like it's a demon that's like eating babies, I think.
Yes,
I think that's the meaning. So that's perfect for a horrible Tyranid menace. And so if you just pulled that out of your head, that's pretty impressive.
I guess I like the sound of the word too.
Yeah.
In Germany, if the city is growing and becoming really, really big, and you want to put a negative spin, you say the city is a kind of Moloch. And it's a growing city which has grown too big to be a nice place anymore. It's a very bad word about a big city.
Okay. But I wanted to kind of touch on your other armies as well, because a lot of people know you for Hive Fleet Moloch, and they know you for Ouroboros because it was in the Forgeworld Imperial book. But you also had other armies, which are also pretty... they were always very cinematic, the way you like posed them and photographed them and all that. But they also stick around in like the public consciousness. So like the first one that I wanted to share was your Swamp Necrons.
Oh no!
Oh no? What do you mean?
I sold them.
You sold them.
Yes,
Oh no.
and it wasn't the best idea, I have to admit.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about actually trying if I can find the buyer again and buy them back, maybe. But I sold them.
Wow.
The only stuff I made that I ever sold, boring, because they all look the same. They
Yes.
all were airbrushed in basic metal colors, had a couple of washes, and bam, you could play. And I wanted to have an interesting spin on it, and have the image of the old ancient is not right from the desert or some place, but just from a swamp.
Cool.
And tried out a couple of techniques with the algae still clinging to them, and the muddy bases. And the techniques worked surprisingly well. And I thought it was a good theme to just tie it together and give the army a different kind of personality.
Nice. I can't believe you sold them. You're now connected with like the Kroot guys from Siege of Petch, but one of those guys was looking at this and he wants to make Swamp Kroot. So he was like, oh my God, I wonder, how did Marco do that? How did he do that really cool like algae effect on them? So do you want to comment on that?
Yes, it's really simple. I just used some flock for bases.
Yeah.
But not flock with the small grains, but with fibers inside.
Yep.
And just some PVA glue and water, drowned the flock in this PVA water mix, and just slapped it on.
Wow.
It was a dark green flock.
It was green, yeah.
Then I used a very bright green for dry brushing.
Yeah.
And some gloss varnish on it, and then you're done. It's not difficult.
Wow. Job's a good one, eh?
Absolutely.
What about the clear green tubes?
Shape it when.
Oh yeah, yes. You've modified those as well.
Exactly. I wanted to have some kind of dark energy floating in the clear plastic, because otherwise it looked too toy-like for me.
Yes, you're right. And it looks so good.
And even this technique too is pretty simple. You just some soap in water, and just make the barrels wet. And then I use some black color.
Yeah. Just black paint, not like ink or wash or anything?
Just black paint, thinned a bit, in a couple of places on the wall, and the paint just dissolves like this. You have to be careful not use too much paint, but it's not a difficult technique at all.
Wow. Yeah, because it's got this like swirling dark energy within those clear green plastic rods. It's a really great effect on Necrons.
And it's dirt simple to do it like this.
I also like on your Immortals, you painted like a green kind of like, not swatch, like a green, their faceplates are green instead of just being the normal like metal color of the other warriors. It's really striking.
Yes. Thank you. I find myself painting stripes on models all the time.
Yeah.
My Death Dominators have stripes on them. The Immortals had a stripe, and the current Reaver Titan I'm working on also has a big fat stripe on his face. I don't know why. I have no idea.
I don't know if I have a stripy Deathwatch, but yeah, I remember your Titan definitely has a stripe on it.
So nice seeing all these pictures I haven't seen in a long, long time.
Cool. Yeah, so that was the Necrons. And the other army, well, the one that I would say probably rivals your Tyranids in terms of fame, although a different kind of fame, like I think in kind of on certain circles of the internet, are your Kroot Renegades.
Nice.
So do you want to talk about them a bit?
Yes, of course. I'm totally surprised and of course flattered by hearing how many people remember them at all, because for me, they have been a couple of bottles sitting in a brown box in the cellar somewhere. I haven't thought of it in many years.
You should sell them.
I've learned. I've moved on. I'm smarter now.
Okay, so one of these pics, like I just pulled up a picture, and like if you look at these Kroot from a certain angle, they look, you know, like normal Kroot. Like, oh look, they've got a couple of Tau guns strapped on the back of a Narlock. But then if you look at them from a totally different angle, one of the most striking models I think that you made, or at least, I don't know about most striking, but one of the ones that has traveled the furthest across the internet and people have seen is Arak. Is it Arak? Is that his name? The crisis suit with a Kroot piloting it, and the other Kroot kind of looting another crisis suit in front.
Yes. the whole idea behind the army is I really enjoyed the Kroot design. I really thought, wow, this is an interesting species. The background was nice. They look great. And I would have liked to use a Kroot army. And there was a Kroot army list back then. But the Kroot army was basically, you had to have like 150 infantry models or something. Wasn't very appealing. And in the tournament circle these days, some people used counts as armies, which was a way of using an army list, but substituting some different models. And I thought about using a Tau army, but using Kroot models for the Tau, for the normal Tau models. And I thought about how it would look to use a special Tau model, but have it Krootified. And the whole idea of the Kroot Renegades being in rebellion against the Tau Masters and stealing technology and using it against them, I found it quite nice.
No, I really like that idea because I love the feral side of Kroot. And just like, I don't know, something about the lines of the Kroot model work in contrast with the lines of the Crisis suit.
Absolutely.
And like, oh, you can see there, we got another stripe ready to go. Stripe painted on his face.
You caught me.
Racing stripe. So yeah, you've also got like Kroot looting a devilfish. Oh, do you know the drive me closer so I can stab him meme? The whole idea.
I know, it's so funny.
Yeah. You got like a Kroot, like you had a guy who had a Tau like at knife point, force him to do stuff.
I wanted to have some Fire Warrior squads painted as Fire Warriors and to show the Kroot are in control. So this is the sergeant of the Fire Warrior squad.
Oh, the one with the knife to his throat?
Exactly.
And then you also, there was one picture of like a Shaper with a Fire Warrior. Is this character or anything?
Yeah, same thing. I wanted him to command a Fire Warrior unit.
So I think one of the reasons that this got so far around the internet is that you actually won a Golden Demon for this.
Yes, true.
Unfortunately, it says that it was done by me, which doesn't make any fucking sense. So that was a silver demon in Cologne in 2006 for that Renegade suit. And then down here we have the Exocrine, which was done by Marco and Katya.
Oh, that is funny.
So you technically took two Golden Demons in the same category, but it got kind of confused.
Definitely.
Yeah, so sorry, the Exocrine is something that you and I collaborated on, but then you and your partner at the time, Katya, did the Crisis suit.
Yes.
But it's interesting that go down because they said both of you won for the third place.
It was a situation where, I think, Marco, please step in at any time because you know this better than I do. I think in German Games Day, you were allowed to enter like collaboration models as long as you listed the different collaborators. Okay. But there was some weird thing where like you couldn't have two entries in the same category.
But also not.
So I think they got the names reversed on this. I think the Exocrine was like, I don't know. Do you remember this? How the story went?
It's a painting competition, right? And Nick, you just made the model. They painted it, so.
No, I think it was... Marco, can you tell us more about the rules? Do you remember them?
No, I don't. I'd guess at a glance that the Exocrine was used as your entrance to the Golden Demon.
Yeah, and then this one was you and Katya. They
just swapped it, both of them.
Yeah. Maybe someone looked at the... oh, no, I don't know. I don't know how that makes sense, because anyone who would know you knows that this is your scheme. So...
Yes.
Oh, I guess... Oh, so that's it. They're like, oh, this is clearly Marco. Someone screwed up the naming. And this is some nobody.
Yeah, funny.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird.
So yeah, that was the Kroot Rebels, and they've really... I don't know. They've really stuck around in like the public consciousness. Especially with Kroot players. And like there's a lot of people who have
thinking about it now is like the Tau fluff is kind of stagnated. They keep talking about the second expansion, the next expansion, more armors, more technology. What if instead they took the story in that there was a civil war between the Tau and the Kroot, and the Kroot became its own force, and it kind of followed the ideas that Marco came up with? It would be like the most original kind of thing to happen in 40K in a long time, that there is a split of these two factions. And
I like that idea.
Would be nice. Actually, I still think with the vastness of the 40K universe, there's a lack of interesting alien races. There's just not enough aliens around.
Yeah.
And the Kroot are one of the few examples which works, because the race has good background, has good aesthetics. It's just something which would be very nice to see more of it explored. Even so, I still think even more. If you look at the orcs, of course, orcs are one of the 40k and Games Workshop trademarks. But if you ask me honestly, the orc aesthetic that we see these days is too silly for the 40k universe.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Just a joke, if you're honest. And the Kroot are not. The Kroot are aliens which work, which are more serious and more grounded.
Yeah.
So I really would like to see more of them. And I don't really understand why Games Workshop never tried to do more for them.
Yeah. Especially because that model is from 2003, I think, but it's held up so well.
Absolutely.
People still love it.
Does anyone remember the Vespits?
Yeah, I want them to be more of a thing.
Yeah, but I don't think many people will even know what the word means.
No,
Whereas
right.
everyone knows the Kroot, and everyone what Forgeworld did. I think we all would like to see more about the Kroot, because there's a lot to be explored.
Well, we're the Siege of Patch people who are making these big Kroot armies for Adepticon, hopefully, if Adepticon ever happens again. They were joking that there's been so much Kroot being shared on Instagram right now that we're all like crossing our talons and hoping that somehow Games Workshop has noticed. They're like, why are we selling so much Kroot right now? But who knows?
But
I think it kind of gets. I get the feeling that they made the Kroot and they were like gung ho about it when they first came out in 3rd edition, and then now they're just forgot about it. They're more focused on this mecha Tau, and they're kind of trying to get away from it. Sorry, Marco, I cut you off.
Yeah, well, same as with the Gene Stealer cult. I would have said no. What a sad story, because it's such a nice theme with the whole Rosemary's Baby stuff. And, probably gonna be forgotten, and they redid it. They made a lot of awesome models. They tried to discover what ideas they had about the Gene Stealer cult. In essence, we would like to see the same with the Kroot.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's hope, because like we saw a new Kroot model in Blackstone Fortress, which was like 2 years ago. I think they had one new Kroot. So the Games Workshop's doing a lot of revisiting right now. So here's hoping that the Kroot is one of the things that they revisit. Like, did you see the preview for the Zote model?
Yes, very
crazy.
Nice. And the Amble was very nice too.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, Craig, did you have another question that you wanted to go for now?
No questions.
Well, I was thinking about. So we've kind of talked about your Tyranids. We talked about your Kroot, your Necrons. Did you also want to talk about your Deathwatch? Because it's kind of interesting that you started off with Tyranids and then you kind of, it's almost like you're playing both sides with your Deathwatch force.
Yeah, I don't think we should talk too much about them, but in early days when the Deathwatch came out, it was just a very small concept. It was just a 54 millimeter model for the Game Inquisitor.
Yeah.
With Captain Artemis, and a very small White Dwarf article explaining what kind of chapter they are.
Yeah.
And I like the background and the aesthetics again, with a metal arm, and the way that single chapters send single Marines to them. Ah, nice! Yeah. I've totally forgotten about that model.
I don't have many pictures of your Deathwatch, unfortunately. But
me neither. And I think it's if you imagine that I find the horror aspect fascinating. It's also it's also nice to imagine the brave souls trying to fight this kind of horror. And the Deathwatch, for me, fit this theme very nicely. Mm-hmm. And they still do. I still think of all the Marine chapters I would like to explore more. It's still the Deathwatch.
Well, Marine chapters aren't always that super exciting, so it's nice to have one that's somewhat interesting.
Marco, right now you're working on your Reaver Titan. What's coming after the Reaver Titan?
I have no idea. I'm still trying to get grounded again, to get inspiration, to have an idea what I can do and what I can't do. And the Reaver was pretty much the last thing that I never finished and completed. So it's kind of logical for me to complete it for many reasons. Reason number one, that is that Simon the Hydra did such an awesome, amazing sculpt job on the whole Titan that I think it's pity
I love
to
the
see it.
face.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? When you showed that face, I forgot that he had sculpted that. I just looked at it. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's a Reaver head, because like it looks so much like the Forgeworld Reaver head, but
Yes.
Simon sculpted it to look more like a skull almost.
It's meant to look like a skull, exactly. And I still remember that he was visiting me
Yeah.
at the time, and he just slapped some epoxy sculpt on it and said, let's get it done.
Nice.
I mean, it was a Forgeworld Reaver. Back then, this kind of model was so expensive that nobody would ever think about converting it or cutting it up or anything. And he just took the epoxy sculpt and said, let's get it done. And got the skull shape on it.
Simon, of course, is the originator of cutting up Forgeworld models when no one else thought that you should cut up a Forgeworld model, and we all thought he was crazy. But yeah,
The nice
he
thing
doesn't
about-
have any. He's not. Go for it, Craig.
No.
No.
Okay.
Nice thing about.
The thing I really like is that from Marco, I never see a like in process work. It's always you only post photos of a model that's painted, nothing before that point. And I think that's really good. It's a good motivation that if you just post your like, oh, I'm working on this, I'm working on that, you don't get anything done. But if you tell yourself, you know what, this is a really cool conversion I'm doing, but it has to be finished before I'm going to take a picture of it and share it with people. Just, I've got to finish it and it's got to look good before I share it. Because like when you're working on a conversion and you're showing these photos of it in process, you're kind of getting high on the idea of, oh, it's going to look so good when it's done, and you're getting that sense of accomplishment without actually accomplishing it, right?
So it's actually kind of cool though that you are sharing the process on the Reaver as you're working on it, and it's kind of, though you're sharing work in progress pictures, I wouldn't call them. They're not your standard work in progress pictures. It's not like here's a crappy picture of my workspace with some green stuff in it and some models and oh, here's my guy held up in front. Like when I take work in progress pictures, they're crappy. But you've got like pieces of the Reaver that are pretty much done, even though they're still your work in progress.
Yes, it's true.
Craig, where did you want to go with that? You were saying that it's inspiring that the way Marco approaches it is that he doesn't show work in progress, he only shows finished models. Well, what I was taking from that is that, yeah, it's easy for me to go and be like, I need to show that I've been working on hobby, so I'm going to go post like a half-finished thing, like a crappy picture of it. But it feels like, you can comment on this if this is your motivation, but if I only could post pictures of finished models, I think I would finish more models. Is that how you approach it, or?
I have no idea why. I think I'm doing the Instagram account these days mainly because you suggested it, but also because I think it helps my motivation and my my connecting with the whole world out there. Right now, it helps me to set a goal. I don't know if you noticed, but I load up a single picture every single day, which means
good.
I have to keep pushing and also work every day on the Reaver for a bit.
Good.
And I think it's very fitting that the last part will be the most interesting part, which you do.
Oh, come on.
Really? The idea I have about those Reavers, I don't know. I don't know if I ever told this, but in my mind, the two Titans I have were given as a present to Inquisitor Cryptman. Is it Cryptman or Cryptman?
I think it's Cryptman. Yeah.
As a present by Forgeworld because he saved the Forgeworld from the Tyranid menace.
Yeah.
And the Titans are both Warp Runner, Legion Titans, so they are able to teleport.
Oh.
The final trick of the sleeve of Inquisitor Cryptman is the Crucified Prime that you will do.
Yeah.
Can be used in two ways. It can be used to stimulate the hive mind to send an alarm signal.
Yeah.
So other synapse creatures come flocking in to fight whatever's threatening the hive mind.
Yeah.
So they can lure in synapse creatures.
Yeah.
Or it can be used to send out the signal everything is safe, so the Titans are invisible for the hive mind.
Wow, nice.
So the whole idea is the Titans can sneak in and then kill the central synapse beast on the planet.
Nice.
The Reaver will have 3 turbo lasers, only turbo lasers, nothing else. So it's a dragon slayer. It's supposed to eradicate the center of the infestation.
Yeah.
And I
Amazing.
really like the idea how the Crucified Prime makes it an interesting theme.
Well, okay, now I need to finish that damn thing.
Yes, I have to. I definitely have to.
No, I need to finish the damn Prime and send it to you.
You have
I also
to.
need to get you a giant cross, but we're figuring that out.
Yeah, nice. I think it's a good story, and what's always in the end gets me all fired up if I have an idea that is more than just a stock model or just a Hive Tyrant or something.
Of course.
If I have an image in my mind, and it doesn't have to be much, it makes a huge difference for my imagination. Just as, I mean, it shows.
Yeah. All right. So, so once you've completed the Reaver, this vision, you said you weren't really sure what was next, but what parts of like the miniature hobby interest you right now? Like, are there some little snippets that you've seen? Like, oh, I might want to explore that or that.
I'm not sure yet. For two reasons. Reason number one is I'm just dipping my toes back in.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm trying to get a look, get a feel. I have no idea what I can do, what I can't do. Not really. With the Reaver, it's pretty easy because I know how it's done. I did it before. I just have to get the technique back.
Yeah.
But as to my imagination and what would interest me most, I try to not overthink, because the reason why I had such a long hiatus was that I was completely burned out by a couple of things that I don't want to see happen again. I don't know if I ever told you, but with all the fame of Fleet Moloch and the Games Workshop studio giving me all these nice chances and all these opportunities to get models done for them, the pressure on me was mounting to deliver all the time. There was a huge pressure to just get the next big thing done, for all the applause and all the ego stuff. And in the end, as inspiring as it was for a time, it was suffocating my creativity.
Yeah.
So the whole thing that got me started in the beginning was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And in the end, there was nothing there. There was just this huge pressure. And for me, it killed the hobby for a long time, which is really sad.
That is sad. Wow.
But I guess
Because like from the outside.
Sorry?
I was gonna say from the outside, anyone who saw, like, oh my god, look, this guy's Tyranids are in like White Dwarf. They're in the friggin' Codex, like not just White Dwarf. But yeah, anyone looking from the outside probably thought that you had it made. It's like, oh my god, this guy, like he gets to create Tyranids for Forgeworld. He gets to create Tyranids that go in the Codex. Like, how happier could you be? But it's interesting to hear about that pressure from the other side.
I was totally happy about that, but it changed my motivation.
Yeah.
And it was very unhealthy for me in the end.
So you weren't doing it for yourself. You were doing it for like the not the fame. You were doing it for the like prestige or something like that.
I think so. And if I look back, the healthiest parts of what I did back there was the collaboration with you and Simon, and the inspiration and the warp shuttle stuff of sharing ideas and creativity. That was very healthy and very good and very genuine. And all the stuff I did for the studio, of course, I loved it. Of course, it was amazing for me, and there was fame and all that. But in the end, it didn't help me, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good for me, and it definitely was very bad for my creativity.
Yeah. You mentioned collaborations. I'm just gonna try to see if I can pull something up here. One thing that I wanted to mention was that back in the day, you did collaborate with a lot of other artists, and you were very encouraging and generous in that you would always you'd commission people, but it almost, I don't know, I always wondered if you were really commissioning people or if you were just kind of like using what disposable income you had to encourage people to do more hobby. Because I remember there was something where I think like Bits of Box, Tom Box, he created that Screamer Killer. I think I have it here somewhere. He created that Screamer Killer for our Tyrant table project, but then we painted it one color, but then he offered it to you or something, and you said, no, I'm not going to take this. I'm going to pay you like as a commission for this piece. Or there was something in there. I don't know if you remember this story, but
Sadly not really, but I really enjoyed sharing creativity, and I really enjoyed seeing talent and seeing us exchange our ideas and our talent. And yes, you put it pretty right. I love encouraging people to grow, and love seeing people grow, and just enjoy seeing how talent gets bigger and nicer and better. And with you and Simon, that was really something special, and with Box as well for some time. Warp Shadow was a really good place back then.
But I just want to say that like that was something that I know I really appreciated. Like I always felt encouraged by you, and I know Simon felt the same way, very encouraged. And it wasn't just us; it was like a greater Tyranid population. So yeah, with commissions, like there's a bunch of different commissions. I worry now that commissions are I need to get the ship painted. I don't want to do it. I'm going to pay someone else to do it. Or B, like I want something very special and it's going to be mine. But when you were commissioning us, it felt more like a collaboration, and it felt like you were encouraging these new creations and Tyranid designs for the betterment of the community, not just for your like you had them sure in your collection, but you weren't like, I don't know. It felt like it was a communal kind of thing that you were doing, and I always appreciated that back in the day.
Thanks, I'm glad to hear that.
I was just going to, I have some images up on Modern Synthesis of your, back in the day, you were talking about the pressure of the studio and having your stuff featured in White Dwarf and other places. So I just have some like old scans. If anyone wants to see it, they can go to modernsynthesis.com and just search for High Fleet Moloch. And I've got a bunch of pictures from the White Dwarf articles. Oh man, there's all kinds of stuff here.
Nice.
Yeah, so this stuff like sticks with people. Like on these, when I posted these articles, there was a lot of comments like, "This was my first White Dwarf. This is what really got me into Tyranids," that kind of stuff. So they definitely have traveled far and wide.
Amazing
on the
to
YouTube
hear.
webs.
Nice.
Yeah.
I haven't seen these pictures in such a long time. It's really nice to see it again. I'm so grateful that you kept all the stuff online. I'm really grateful for that.
Well, my motivation for it was that this was like a huge part of the Tyranid history. Here we have like the Godzilla Swarm that you did for the release of the, what was that, 4th edition Codex, 5th edition? I guess, I don't know. Where you did a bunch of Tyranid monstrous creatures. And it's just that this was like a touchstone for the Tyranid community, and like really inspiring to a bunch of people because of like your conversions and all these cool creatures. And it was just sad for me that I think I was motivated. I posted about it on the internet that I was motivated, that I went online and I Googled High Fleet Moloch, and a post came up that was literally on, I think, Daka, someone asking, what color is High Fleet Moloch? Like, what's the color scheme for High Fleet Moloch? And the person said, the response was, "Oh, there's no official color scheme. You can paint it whatever color you want." And I was like, fuck no, you cannot paint High Fleet Moloch whatever color you want. There's a color scheme. So I wanted to just make sure that with the unfortunate loss of the High Fleet Moloch website, that this lived on somewhere. So in the intervening time, you talked about how you kind of, the fire kind of burned you out from the pressure from the studio and like having to constantly produce this stuff. And it was kind of sapping your creative motivation.
Well, science fiction and horror models never left my imagination. I already had that as a kid, and it probably will stay with me for my whole life.
Yeah.
So when Warhammer 40k was not a thing for me anymore, I sort of naturally drifted into alien models, like from the Alien movies.
Yeah.
And I found out there was a whole world of collecting models, and I started gathering a life-size collection of mainly Alien models at the time.
Yeah.
Had some pieces commissioned as well. It's funny because same thing happened again. These days, my house pretty much looks like a museum. I have a life-size alien queen head on my ceiling hanging above me.
Do you want to tip it up? I know we can't show it to the people listening on the podcast, but you can kind of see it on your web. That thing is huge. Yeah, so we're interviewing Marco in his alien studio right now, and there is a giant queen head immediately above his head, which would terrify me, but I guess you feel right at home.
It's funny because there's a huge window going to the street, and I sometimes color it with different lights, and people outside can walk by and see the alien head just floating in the air, being lit by different colors. It looks
Oh,
amazing.
the window's behind you.
In front of me, actually.
Oh, okay. You just turn around.
It's closed right now.
Oh, cool.
But you can see the huge alien head floating in the air from outside.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like you've got a warrior alien, but not a warrior alien, but like a xenomorph back there that looks kind of full size.
Exactly, it's full size. It's more than 2 meters high. You
Yep.
can see it right now, but I've got a ton of this kind of stuff. Alien eggs, full metal colonial marine weaponry, like a smart gun made from a real machine gun, pulse rifles, flamethrowers, the whole thing. And even a colonial marine costume made by the same armor smith that originally made them for the movie Aliens.
Yeah, so you have a picture on your Instagram of you in colonial marine regalia with a facehugger. Is that your facehugger?
Yes, it is.
Nice. So this is one of your rifles that was one of the replicas, or?
It's an all metal full kind hero pulse rifle, which you can even rack like a real shotgun.
Wow.
It's like 8 kilogram heavy, so it feels like the real thing.
Amazing. So this is what you poured your creativity into when you moved on from Games Workshop.
Exactly.
And I think I've also got your. So now you're still doing that now?
Yeah, I do. On the odd convention, once or twice a year, maybe. We founded it actually here in Germany.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's me. The cat guy on the left. Yes, thank you. I really enjoyed this, and also found a great couple of guys and girls, and we have a really nice camaraderie going on, and it's good fun. It's good fun getting into character and scaring people and interacting with an alien or something. It's good.
Yeah. You all guys also do kind of what's the word for it? Oh, there's a really good picture.
Yes.
You also do some other cosplay stuff, right? Other than just with Alien?
With Alien cosplay, it was pretty much reserved for conventions.
Yeah.
And so you have once or twice a year the chance to dress up and have fun, but it wasn't enough for me. And the collecting stuff is nice, but when you collect something, it just sits around, gathers dust in the end. You don't do much with it. So I was drawn to another similar thing, that is Star Wars costuming.
Yes.
The 501st Legion is a worldwide organization of people dressing up as Star Wars characters.
Yes.
This is me, actually. You see the Emperor on the
Is that you? Yeah, if anyone wants to see pictures of this group, if they go on Instagram and they look up 501 ST German Garrison, so that's 501st German Garrison, all one word, you can see pictures of this group. And there's a picture of the Emperor and Darth Vader chilling with the coronavirus. So that's you as the Emperor?
Yes. This
cool. I looked at this, but I couldn't figure out who you were. So I was like, oh, these guys have masks on.
Exactly, yeah.
So talk a little more about 501st and what they do.
501st is an officially sanctioned organization worldwide by Lucasfilm.
Yes.
And is organizing worldwide costuming in the Star Wars universe with 2 distinct things. First off, the costumes have to be movie quality, so every single costume is examined and only allowed to be worn when it's nearly perfect.
Wow.
So it has to be really good. Which is why the Legion is seen as very elitist from many other people.
Okay.
The second thing is the Legion does a lot of charity work. So as a Star Wars character, especially in contrast to a colonial marine, people know you.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Darth Vader. Everyone knows a stormtrooper. So what we do is we do a lot of charity work. We visit children hospices, for example.
Yeah.
Hospitals, children oncology stations. We collect a lot of money for charity purposes.
Yeah.
And just enjoy dressing up in costume together, and it's huge fun doing this kind of stuff.
That's really cool that you've found a way to make your like sci-fi hobby give back.
It's true, absolutely. And it's really, when you put on the costume, you just change. You feel different, you move different, interact differently. Look on the left. On the left side, the Boba Fett is me.
Oh, here?
This one, yeah.
Is that your costume? That Boba Fett costume?
This is one of my 2 Boba Fett costumes, yes.
Wow. I can see why it was approved. That's a pretty amazing Boba Fett costume.
Funny story, this was last year's Halloween troop in the local children's hospital.
Yes.
And I just had my Emperor costume, my Palpatine costume finished.
Yeah.
And I thought about, well, I should wear my Emperor for the first time. And then, happily enough, a voice back in my mind said, well, it's for children. It's Halloween. They're in the hospital. Your Palpatine looks really, really spooky.
Yeah.
Maybe not such a good idea.
Good call. So you hastily whipped together a movie quality Boba Fett costume?
Oh, I already had that one. Luckily.
Okay, gotcha.
So I was clever enough to say no, not Palpatine maybe, because with Boba Fett alone, you have children crying. With Emperor Palpatine,
yes,
you have all children crying.
Yes, they would not do well with that.
There's a picture of parents chasing me out of the hospital with pitchforks and torches.
So is this your Palpatine costume?
No.
That's someone else? So this one's yours. Okay, great.
One. If you put into Instagram capital Vader, like capital with an A.
Yeah.
And Vader.
Capital Vader.
That's
Mike?
You should find a couple of pictures of my Palpatine.
Oh, here. Oh, wow. Is this you?
Yes, this is me.
Nice.
I look a bit older.
You look a bit older. No kidding. That's the idea. I think you'd be failing as Palpatine if you didn't look a little older.
Absolutely.
This is Palpatine touring the mall? Like,
yes, giving you
cool.
flowers. Enjoying some spa time with his employees.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, this is good for the video segment. I feel like Craig's gonna kill me. This is not good for the audio segment. Would you say the best place to follow you right now is on Instagram if people want to follow you for hobby reasons? Okay,
yes,
and Marco's Instagram is Hive Fleet Moloch, all one word. So that's HIVEFLEETMOLOCH, Hive Fleet Moloch. And like he said, he's doing the thing you're supposed to do on Instagram, posting 1 picture a day. The rest of us don't always keep up with that. And it's a great place to see both his current hobby stuff, but also his other interests. He's got some pictures there of his alien work with some links to his Colonial Marines group. And you posted a picture the other day of is it Thin Man? What's that guy's name from Pan's Labyrinth? Pale Man. Sorry.
Pale Man, the demon. Yeah. Actually, I was planning on selling it via eBay yesterday, and that's why I took some pictures of his.
Oh, so not long in your collection. But if people want to steal it.
Well, my girlfriend came in and said, no, you can't sell this. Normally, it's not the front of my collection, but when she says, no, please have this one stay in the house, I will probably do it.
I think that's what you need to look for. Find someone who wants you to keep your Pale Man statue. That's who you need to look for in your relationships.
It sounds a bit weird if you say it like that.
She's only in it for my Pale Man. You're what, sir?
Well...
It's got lots of folds, you know? Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to ask you about. Was there anything else like that we've missed so far, like in your kind of journey, like to the hobby, to Tyranids, to like other armies, like away from the hobby, back to the hobby?
Well, I would like to underline that that with getting older and looking back into how my life was, the 2 most meaningful moments I had with a Tyranid hobby was actually working with you and Simon.
Aw, that's awesome.
Definitely. And talking with Jas Goodwin about Tyranid design and being able to think with him, along with him, how it should look and how it might look. I mean, he sent me his Hive Tyrant sketches before he finalized the design and asked me if it was good like this or if he should change anything. Those 2 things definitely were of memories I recall most fondly.
Awesome. That's one of my favorite memories was when I came over to visit you in Germany for Games Day 2006 in Cologne. And I don't know, like, I think it was probably a combination of you and Simon, but we wound up hanging out with Jess Goodwin and Phil Kelly after, and Jess Goodwin was buying me beers, and I was like, fuck. And then, like, we spent the next day just bumming around Cologne talking to them. And I still remember that Jess showed me some stuff on his cell phone that he probably shouldn't have showed me. And I was like, oh my God, this was like years before these models came out. But I remember him talking to me. What still sticks with me is we were talking about Adeptus Mechanicus. And for some reason we were talking about how different Warhammer 40K armies align with different fantasy tropes. Like Eldar are space elves and like Space Marines are like space knights. And he was talking about Adeptus Mechanicus. And he's like, what would they be? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, they're space zombies. And I'm like, what? Aren't the Necrons space zombies? He's like, no, forget on Necrons. Adeptus Mechanicus are space zombies because the humans have replaced the whole like animating zombie virus or voodoo or whatever with, they've animated corpses with technology. And I remember being like, what? And it completely blew my mind. So I'm very glad that you opened that opportunity up to me by like inviting me to Germany and inviting me to go to Games Day with you. And like, otherwise I never would have met Jess. And I've had the fortune of meeting him like, I think maybe one other time after that with you and Simon. But yeah, that was a very special time. And especially that whole like Hive, Fleet Moloch, Warp Shadow, like we didn't know how good we had it as Tyranid players.
Absolutely, yeah.
Gotten our first, I think the Tyranid kits were some of the first like multi-part plastic amazing kits after Space Marines.
Yes, I think so. The
and we were just going crazy with them.
Crazy times.
It was crazy times. So yeah, right now, Tyranids, I don't stay as close with them as I used to, but I do feel guilty, and I feel like I need to get back to Tyranids.
All right.
Is that something you've thought about? Have you thought about going back to Tyranids and trying to do some like new Tyranids?
Well, if you ask me if there's any one model that I imagine coming after the Reaver Titan, it's actually a Tyranid model. I still would like to do the Hierophant Tyranid Titan. Still have a lot of ideas that we talked about in Toronto when I was over to visit you. And the ideas still seem powerful to me and still seem still call me.
Awesome.
I think I will do it.
And you'd be converting it?
Yes, definitely.
Nice.
Majorly. I have quite a few ideas to upgrade the kit and to make it mine, and to give it some nice kind of background. For example, have you seen War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
The tripods terrorizing the human population. You see the theme again. Have these baskets under them to capture humans, to suck them in. I would do the same with the Tyrant, of course. Have them capture baskets, pulsating like the XX on the Turbigon, but with human forms inside, still alive.
Amazing.
To get probes for the DNA collection of the hive mind.
Fantastic.
Like live samples, which is such a horrifying image.
And how would you do the conversion? Would you do like sculpting? Would you do like building it with like existing kit bases? Like, do you have an idea of how you'd approach it?
Well, a couple of things. The thing I planned to do back then was to just use a Turbigon exec under the carapace of the Hierophant, which fits pretty well actually.
Oh, good. Okay.
But this is only just one thing. I think it will need to have more weapon pods.
Yeah.
Just more like an armored tank.
Yeah.
Different face. I'm not sure. I'm very fond of the face, and the limbs don't work like they are. I think
that's the one thing I remember us talking about: the knife walking.
The knuckled walkers, exactly. That would look great. And these are some of the things that I think I would love to work on, because I haven't seen too many Hierophants which I really liked, and I haven't seen many conversions of them either.
I'm going to try and find something to show you. There's a artist called Blackheart Sculpting on Instagram. I don't know if you're following them.
No.
Unfortunately, so Blackheart Sculpting does Tyranids, but I don't know if it's a he or she, but they do very stylized Tyranids.
Okay.
That look almost like less straight biologic and maybe more kind of, I don't know, evolved culturally. Like they've got like these weird growths and stuff, or just like a different kind of alien. Unfortunately, I wanted to show you one of this artist's models that they're working on now, but I don't think they've posted it in on their feed in Instagram. I think it was just in the
Wow.
in their stories. But what it made me think about with you talking about the knife walking of the Hierophant and how you wanted to correct that. Well, you'll be familiar with this kind of with a dragon. Some models for dragons have them like walking on their knuckles with their wings folded back. This artist had done that with a scything talon. They'd taken the scything talon and bended it under, and then instead of like walking on the talon, the creature was walking on its knuckles. And I guess then it could like bring up the talon and like slice something.
That sounds very interesting.
So it might work for a Hierophant. I don't know.
By the way, you know, I was never satisfied with the design of the scything talons.
No?
They don't look really practical to me.
That was the one thing. Jess sent you the sketch, and you're like, Jess, this is shit. Throw it out and start something else. He's like, I'm sorry, Marco, I'm going with this. You're like, no, it's terrible.
I mean, with the Carnifex kit coming from above, they sort of work. But on Hive Tyrants, they always look like gene poles. Always.
They look like what?
Gene poles. Like the poles.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, just like this. It just imagine how he would cut, like with knives or anything. I can't really imagine it looking cool and working good.
When you talked about the idea of Carnifexes having the scything talons above and bringing them down on their prey, it makes me think of this model and this model. The AT Fex, which had the scything talons up above and then the guns down below, and a little bit the Agorafex as well from your Godzilla Swarm army.
All those terrible names, yeah.
Whatever, they work. And yeah, this looks like these scything talons are going to be used to scythe someone.
Yes. Rather
than for balancing the model as it's walking forward. And I can't explain it. You made a lot of really cool Tyranids for your Godzilla Swarm, but honestly, this one, the AT Fex, is my favorite.
Interesting.
Just like the simple solution of moving the scything talons above the other weapon port, like based on the angle. Because if you look at a Carnifex, whereas a Hive Tyrant is standing up, if that's like, 90 degrees, the Carnifex is leaning forward, so it's at 0 degrees. And with the Hive Tyrant, the weapon ports are in that 90-degree line because the Hive Tyrant is standing up.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then when you have a Carnifex and it bends over into the 0-degree axis, it's leaned forward, the weapon ports shift and they're in line with the head, so they're at the 0-degree mark. So you have the scything talons in front and the gun arms behind, and they have to kind of like come down under. But what you've done on this Carnifex, this one that I really like, is you've shifted the weapon ports so that they're still in that 90-degree line. That
I did.
The talons are above and the guns are below. So I don't know, it really worked for me, and it works for that, what you were describing, where the scything talons would come down from above.
Absolutely, yeah. You know what's funny when I think about this? When I did these Carnifexes, I had never ever seen another assembled Carnifex anywhere.
They just sent you the kit, and they were like, here, good luck?
Just do it. And I looked at the models and thought, it makes no sense for me. It just didn't fit my aesthetics to just line the weapons up one behind the other. And I just did it like this. When I think about it today, it's really weird because if you take a look at the other effects with the crushing claws on the victim in the hand.
Hold on.
Also, I have those tiny crushing claws.
This one?
Exactly. If you look at the crushing claws, they're in the same spot as the Devourers before.
Oh, so, the rending claws are below.
Exactly. And just imagine those tiny rending claws coming behind the big claws or in front or whatever. It would look stupid.
Yeah. Did the Carnifex kit come with rending claws?
Yes. No, the kit didn't, but the Carnifex back then had the option to use them.
Right.
And they were pretty ineffective with the Carnifex and the cheapest weapon you could equip it with.
Yeah. If you wanted just a cheap Carnifex, just give it rending claws.
I had to make 1,500 points fitting with the 6 faxes, and I needed to have a cheap fax.
Oh, so these are actual, you built these for an army. You didn't just build these for like...
No, I actually wrote an army list for the whole army, and my goal was to just have 6, the minimum number of troops, which was the 6 Ripper, flying Ripper swarms.
Yeah.
And the rest was meant to be 2 Hive Tyrants and 6 Carnifexes. So at the time, this was the maximum number of monstrous creatures you could fit into an army.
Yeah, that was
the minimum number of troops. So it was a legal army. And it's really weird if I look at the models from today's perspective.
Yeah.
How strange my thinking was back then. For example, the rending claw arm put on the other arm.
The rending
Such
claw.
if you look at the bigger Carnifex, you just
Oh,
have
yeah,
to have
the Scarfax.
exactly. If you look at the crushing claw arms, you have this weird 200 warrior
Oh,
arm.
it's the old. Oh, the secondary arm that's
exactly.
supporting it.
What a weird idea from today's perspective.
I don't know. I like that kind of stuff. It's like a
Me too.
reinforcing point or something, but you're right that you wouldn't see that on a Carnifex these days. When you received these Carnifexes, were these plastic or did you get them in resin? Because when we worked together on the Dominatrix, I needed a Hive Tyrant head, and you sent me a resin Hive Tyrant head when there was only a pewter Hive Tyrant. And I'm like, why is this resin? Why isn't this metal? And you're like, oh, whatever. They sent it to me from the studio. Just use it. It's fine. So I was wondering if these Carnifex kits, were they plastic or were they resin?
They were plastic.
Okay.
The two Hive Tyrants were resin.
Oh, okay. Oh, I guess because they were going to cast them in metal, but they could cast in...
Exactly, and they needed to have some models out quickly for me.
Yeah.
And this is why they are resin. At least I still think they are. I'm not quite sure, actually.
Okay.
No, they were metal. But
Okay.
for some reason, I got one Hive Tyrant in resin, which is my Ouroboros one. I converted. And because I used a different head on that one, I had one left for you.
So this one was resin.
Exactly.
Which works better for sticking it up on a pole, I guess.
It does.
I
Certainly.
love this one. I really like this one.
Glad to hear it.
Especially the head. Like, this is...
Yeah.
Did we talk about the heads of Tyranids and how they're all just gone heads? We must have talked about that at some point.
Not yet. We should.
Oh, okay, because that's a conversation. I think I've had that conversation with Hydra, with Simon. But... I feel like that's something that I heard from Jess at some point. That it's like, they shouldn't all just be giant gaunt heads, but that's kind of what they've turned into now.
Absolutely. Well, I think I once heard that our brains are pretty much mainly pattern matching engines. So our brains
Yes.
always look for patterns and for sorting things out. And what Jess did with the Tyranid range is just make it all neat and tidy and have it all look themed and similar.
Mm-hmm.
What a designer might do, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But as pumped as I was for the new Carnifex kit and for the Hive Tyrant redesign, these days they all look like variations on the same creature, which is for me and for my imagination not enough for Tyranids.
Yeah.
There should be more craziness. There should be more differences, more variations. They just all look like too gaunt-like for me. And
have you kept up with the new Tyranid kits, like the spore thing that's not on my Mycetic Spore, the Malanthrope, is that what it's called? The Ceravore and...
Well, actually, that was my last project for the Games Workshop headquarters, because for the redesign of the army, I was on board as a consultant, and I was sent the creature concepts and the army lists, and was asked to work on rules and background along with Robin. What's his name?
Krudes?
Yes,
Krudach? I don't know.
Thank you. And that was the last thing I did for the studio, and well, I had different ideas and didn't like many of the stuff that was introduced, and it probably showed in what I sent back to Robin. I have all the new kits. I have them all bought as boxes.
Oh, really?
But didn't do anything with them. Yes, I have. I see. Of course, I see many possibilities for converting. I would love to see another big Gumbeast done by you. I saw your updated one, the bigger one.
Oh, the updated Dactylus.
Exactly. And of course, I think the artery beasts have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of interesting ideas, but they should have been way more crazy and inventive with the new models.
Okay, wait. I think we're getting into like weird territory here. I feel like the interview episode is one thing, and I think we could do another episode where we review Tyranid models together if you'd be interested.
You're right, of course.
Because I did a thing on my website where it's called the Tyranid Archive, where I reviewed Tyranid models like from 1st edition up to 5th edition or something like that, but I never did these.
I haven't seen that.
It's just, if you go at the top, it says Tyranid Archive.
Yes.
And it's just like articles that talk about Tyranid design. So we did that episode. But then just like talking about Rogue Trader, talking about what happened in 5th edition, like what models were introduced. I preserved our interview that you did with Phil and Jess, because it was on. Look at this young, fresh face.
Oh my!
Who is this 12-year-old?
I have no idea.
So yeah, there's an interview on there called "Piece of the Hive Mind" that you did with Jess and Philly. It says Phil Kelly, August 2005. So I guess that was before 4th edition or 5th edition, 4th edition rulebook came out or something. But anyway, yeah, I go back through the different generations of Tyranids, but I stopped at the 5th generation. So I would love to do the subsequent generations.
Wow, awesome.
With you. Maybe we make it like an old-time Hive triumvirate collaboration. We see if we can get Simon on here too. We can all talk about them.
Would love to do that.
Is there anything else that you want to plug or anything like that?
No, thanks. What I wanted to say I have said, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm just really glad, honestly, Marco, that you're interested in like maybe dipping your toes back into the hobby. I'm really glad that we got you on Instagram. I'm glad it wasn't too weird for you. Because honestly, like my motivation in creating those Hive Fleet Moloch posts on my website was just that this legacy would live on. Yeah, but no, I'm just honestly really glad you're back, and I'm glad you're interested and the fire's burning. So it's my goal to keep that fire burning.
Yay! Let's go. No, I'm all fired up because I really noticed. It's a funny thing because I guess many of our own developments happen on a subconscious level.
Yeah.
Because I'm cleaning up my hobby room, and I was really pumping much energy into getting it nice and tidy and getting old stuff out. And it is as if my subconscious mind was telling me to prepare for something. When I was done, I was like, okay, what do I do now? I work on costumes all the time.
Yeah.
But somehow I had the feeling, no, this is for something different. So.
And that's when you started thinking about this stuff again.
Pretty sure. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's that. And then it started to trickle in. How about doing a miniature again? And ooh, yes, this is missing from my life right now. It would be nice to do some more stuff again. And for some reason, the block that was there before wasn't there anymore.
Good.
And now, of course, I have to watch out not to fall into the same kind of trap, but it's pretty unlikely, to be honest.
Don't get famous.
Yes, I won't. Promise.
Marco, thank you so much for coming on to Xenos Alchemist and speaking with us today. It's been a pleasure, and it's so good to have you back in the hobby.
Thank you, Nick. I'm so glad to be back aboard on some kind of creative 40K train, and so happy to see you preserve all the stuff from the past, to see it in such good hands, and yes, looking forward to the journey that awaits us.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure that this is not going to be our last conversation on the podcast. In fact, we may have already been talking on the side about other topics that we could do another episode on. So I really look forward to getting that chance to talk to you again.
Thanks. Same here.
Okay. See you later, Marco.
Bye. See you later.